Let's bring this down. This is going to be a AI video generator that can actually produce AI videos, not just adding animation to a still shot, but actually running AI video models like Kling, Minimax. So just going to keep at it with this one. This is my first. I'm trying to set up a live stream on YouTube. Everyone from YouTube, what's up? I'm streaming 2 different channels right now and first time doing it. So we're going to get into this build. All right, cool. I think everything is set up. Let's do it. Patrick, what's up? You missed the N8N stuff, but I'm getting more into it. Inasha, how's it going? Scott, Danilo. So basically, Danilo, this is the one you've been working on. This is just a copy of it. So I'm building out this new automation. I think I got a couple things in here. These new chains for calling the foul module. And when I come back to builds like this, I just have no idea what's going on. There's way too much to figure out. So let me just dive in. We've got video project field, our table here. I'm going to switch back to light view. Generation table. So it's pretty much same copy from that other build. So what I want to do is actually set up these chains. I'm going to get into foul. Got some other people coming in. Yeah, let's take a look at what's going on. Patrick. So this flow here, we're calling foul to set up these other chains here. So I want to set up Kling, Luma, Hyper. I think that's how you say that. Scott would know more on all these tools. Minimax, and we can use these models to create videos. So basically I'm setting up a loop here and make it's a little convoluted to set up loops, but this is the way you can do it. We have a repeater, setting variables, and checking the video status, so we can run through that. Now for the actual call here, I think I want to set up a Kling one. Let me just copy this entire chain. Drop that down, link it up. And let me double check. Scott, let me double check if I'm recording this. I keep missing the record button for our calls here. I got 3 hours planned, 3 hours of work planned for this. So if you guys need to jump off, jump back on later. I'm just going about my work day. You can join in whatever's easiest for you. All right, so jumping back in here. Okay, cool. So setting up these chains with Fal. Patrick, I don't know if you've worked through this one at all. I know you've got probably as much as I do going on with your business, but running through all this stuff, we've got story generation going on here. We've got audio generation for voiceover for making videos. This chain creates the still images that we can then run through and create the videos. This Inasha is that second AI video generator, the one that's actually going to run Kling and stuff to create those AI videos, you know, a bunch of AI video clips. The other generator, the storyteller generator, just creates the still images, puts a slight zoom on the images for the video, and then adds the voiceover. But this one is going to be a completely new build. I'm just using this entire framework as a base, but I'm going to dive in here, rip it apart, and set up this new automation. So this is my first live stream, and I'm running this on a bunch of different platforms. I'm streaming with you guys in the group here, and I'm streaming on YouTube. So let's get at it. Again, just going about my work day here. I got 3 hours planned. And I'll just ramble on and see what I can do. Coming back into these builds, though, I put so much into it. I always lose myself because I have so many projects going on. So let's dive into this Fal module first. This is making the call to Fal. I got different API keys here for demo purposes, so you can see what these modules are set up like. And right, so let's get in here. Let's look at some models. With Fal, it's super cool what we can do. It's kind of emerging here. All these APIs are coming about that have deals with these other, these other tools, these other platforms, trying to create a centralized hub for a bunch of different tools. That's kind of the landscape of what's going on in this whole API automation tool use world. So in Fal, we can check out all of these tools here, and I want to just search for Let's do image to video. We can see a bunch of models here. So Kling Pro, we got 1.5, 1.6. Let's take a look at that. Kling video. And so we could test out the video, drop some files in, drop some prompts in here. I want to go into the API. So anytime we're using APIs that don't have a built-in make module, we need to make an HTTP request. And basically it's just, if you're doing it in code, this is the code you would need. We've got HTTP, Python, Java, all that stuff. We can take a look at all the actual code. But since we're making an HTTP request, we can see this information. We need to set up these HTTP modules. So basically the file module is set up like this. We need authorization, the API key, and we need the request content. So I'm going to delete out this key for now. We can create some new test keys. Yeah, and now so this will make one video at the end. It's just gonna create a bunch of clips. Same process as you guys do manually. Hopefully, that's the automation I'm trying to build here. All right, so we're looking at the Kling model. We need these schema in here. So what I already have in my HTTP module is this stuff, the authorization header, the API key. So we need to find the schema. Easiest way that I do this, I actually just copy everything. Copy that. Let's come into ChatGPT. Kling. Gosh, can't spell. This is the API docs for the Kling Pro model in fal.ai. Paste that in there. Then I'll say, can you tell me step by step There we go. Pretty simple. All right, add the HTTP module, select post. We've already got this stuff. We need this right here. Copy that. Let's come back into make. And we need to paste that one right here for the URL. You can double check that in the file docs. Come back up to the top here. Let's see, it should be the first one. Just make sure. There it is. All right, so what's next? We need authorization, we need API key, I got that. And we need this schema right here. This is the JSON for the actual schema that Kling needs. How many clips will it make? So it'll be based on your prompting, how many clips you want. it'll be based on the prompting for the actual automation, right? You can say, create 5 clips of blank and something like that. That's something I'm going to build into it. You know, typically, I'm assuming with Kling, using the FAL API, you're still probably going to have to pay for Kling. Some of these other models you don't have to pay for, and you can pay as you go through FAL to use them. So having that kind of modularity with the building of it, or the, you know, the constructing of your video, for all those icons are for one clip. Yes, but it's the same run through to make all the clips. And haven't really started building that out yet. Don't really know how I want that to go, but we'll see. Where am I at? All right, I got authorization API key. We need to now get the request ID. Let's copy this one and paste that one into this module, or this one. Let's see. We'll rename this one. We're working on Kling here. Kling. So this is to make a request. This one is to get the status. Let's see. Get a request type. I think I want to check this to get the status. Let's see. We need submit status. So right here again, this is all the FAL documentation. So just learning about APIs, it kind of ends up all being the same. Any API that you need to set up that is not already built into Make, you need to run this HTTP module. So they all end up looking the same. All the APIs have the same documentation setup, so you can usually find what you want. So we're going to paste this one in here. Request ID needs to go in here, but we don't have that yet, it looks like, so we'll have to run some data through this module. Slow stuff. This is slow stuff. Slow going. This is how I work. ChatGPT, what do? Great. So what I want to do with this also, let's copy this, say, paste that in here. Provided for request content. Can you read the docs? Give me all the JSON settings. I found with the FAL modules that if you leave out some of the settings that you don't need, typically you don't actually need to add settings in there if you aren't using them. They'll be set to their default. That's just using FAL and using these models. But sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to manually put in a default setting. So it looks like these are all the default settings for Kling. We need the prompt, the image URL that we're using, the duration of the video, and the aspect ratio. So that's I'm guessing, all we need. So we can come back into the cling, make a request, and paste that in right here. So we can keep these defaults in here, but sometimes I keep the defaults just to test it to see, does this actually work before trying to map everything together. But let's go ahead and map it. So the prompt is coming from my automation here. Prompts will get generated, and we'll grab that prompt from Airtable. So the prompt is going to be the AI image prompt I set up in Airtable. Image URL, that is going to be from the images URL I set up in Airtable. Duration of the video, let's crank it down. And aspect ratio, we'll dynamically add in there from Airtable. Got the aspect ratio settings right there. So you can hard code all your settings, but I'm grabbing the settings from Airtable. We can set our settings dynamically the way I've set this up. If you set a portrait orientation in Airtable in this automation, it'll set your width, height, aspect ratio, and this is for the flex realism image generation. So we're getting dynamic aspect ratios. If I set one to landscape, this should pop in with those settings. That's what I built into this Airtable base. So we can try that. So an API is that string of icons like instructions. An API is essentially a doorway to interact with a service. And this FAL service is the doorway to multiple services. So this API is the doorway to Cling, Luma, Minimax, all of that stuff. So when you create an API key, you're creating a key to your doorway, and this doorway opens all of these tools. So most services have an API, ChatGPT has an API. You can interact with the API. So ChatGPT has its own doorway and has its own key. You can create your ChatGPT key and interact with that service. When I say interact and using doorways, I'm saying the API is meant to be interacted with programmatically, so through automation or through coding. Typically, when you interact with a service, you're on a website and you're on the front end interacting with that service. Well, the API key is the backdoor to interacting with that service. So what I'm doing here is setting up that doorway, and then these instructions are interacting with that service. This is the door, and this is what I'm getting back. These instructions here, I'm creating a loop. So basically this loop, anyone that has used Make before, this is a way to create a loop. I'll get into that in a second. I'm just trying to get my brain wrapped around what I was even doing here before. I set up so many things when I'm in the zone, and then I come back to it and it's like, dang, what the heck was I doing? So cool, we've got these set up. We need to run some data down this chain so that I can enter in these inputs. Let's check this one. We need to get the video, so we need to enter in this one for Cling. Let's come back in here. Submit requests. We need to get the video. Let's check status. I think it's this one. Requests. We need this one. Let's grab this URL. By the way, I'm going to have a full step-by-step tutorial on this thing eventually. I just thought, since I'm working on this stuff anyway, I can live record it and you guys can watch me fumble around. If anything, watching me fumble around will help you feel better about fumbling around. So we want this request and we need to get the request ID. We don't have that yet because we don't have any requests being made. So we can just skip that. Cool, so that's going to run through Cling. I need to create a new API key and run that through, but we'll leave that off for now. Minimax should be set up. This was my old default testing key that doesn't work anymore. So we'll test with Minimax and Cling later on. Bring these out. Get rid of JSON to video here. This was for creating those animations for the other automation. And I'll probably redo Luma and Hyper. I don't know how to say that. So we'll keep Minimax and Cling as our video generators for now. Still got the file generator for the image. That looks good. We're not going to need a voiceover for this one. It's just going to create audio, or it's just going to create the video clips. This is going to be for the style of video that's more like the shocking creatures or whatever. Those just need a background music for the most part. All right, this looks fine. I'm going to save it. Figure out what else we need. All right, merge audio and video. We're not going to need to merge audio and video. Clips, that was for the voiceover. Combine clips we will need, and add music and finish we will need. Get out of here. Get. All right, so generate the story. We're not going to need a story either. This isn't necessarily going to be a story, but we will need to generate scenes. So could probably remove the story writer, but we need the scenes here. So this will no longer generate the voiceover, but we will generate image prompts. Tech reviews, what's going on? Thank you, appreciate that. Alternatives to JSON to video. There's a couple. I find that they end up being harder to set up, harder to use, harder to integrate with. And so JSON to video, I pay as you go. So it could be more expensive that way. I'm not a full-time video maker, so I pay as you go. And it works great for me in that regard. But there's a couple you could switch out other than JSON to video. You know, essentially what we're doing in JSON to video in the other automation is using it as the full video animation stitching tool. But in this automation, we're actually only going to use it as a stitching tool, combining all the clips together and adding the music to the final video. So looking up other services for stitching clips or adding music programmatically, stuff like that. There's so many. So I can't even, pick out another one. This is just the one that I picked out and started using because it was the easiest. I tried 10 different ones thinking, all right, JSON to video, it's a popular one. Maybe there's others coming out, and maybe there has been others that come out since, but this is the one that I still stick with. They are the machinations behind the scenes, the key, the doorway explanations. Yeah, that I hope that helps. It's Inasha, that's learning what API keys, API services, APIs, and API keys do. It seems so much more cryptic than it actually is. We're just interacting with services on the back end. All right, so this looks pretty good. Let's dive in here and see what we can do. We need to set up the generation, okay? And the generation is going to be a lot different for the scenes that we need to create. So we need to interact with how the generations are being done. Come into my automations. We don't need to generate a story. We do need to generate scenes. So images, audio can come out. Video needs to stay, and we can look at other alternatives to JSON to video. Let's rename this one. For anyone coming into the stream, I am working on a new automation. This is a faceless niche AI video generator. This one's going to be creating AI clips, stitching them together for a different style of AI video. If you watch my other automation tutorials, there's a different style of content. So what I've done is copied my AI story generator and I'm ripping it apart, creating a new automation. But I come into these automations, they're so lengthy and involved. And when I'm building them, I know exactly what I'm doing. I try and name everything correctly because even myself coming back to these is just so much to look at. So I'm trying to look at what I got going on and rip it apart. So we can rename this one. We don't need a new story. This is a new project or new video entry. I think I called that table project. These videos are going to be a little more hands-on, a little more manual control built in than the AI story generator. So we can effectively call them projects over videos. All right, let's see what we're doing here. I'm in my all data field. I create a bunch of fields in these tables, a bunch of views in these tables because I like to see, this is the working view and then this is all my data and fields. So I can come in here and see my own back end of what I'm building in. So what do we got going on? I just set up the automation or renamed that automation. When a new project is created, it should automate these things. Oh, it would help if I turned it on. You guys would be surprised. I talk to myself like this even when I'm not live streaming. There's so much to work through. I gotta keep it organized in my brain. So there we go. This has automated the JSON maker. I'm not actually automating the system automation system instructions. We can grab that. Let's jump into my other project, just copy and paste some stuff back over. So it's going to be this one. System automation prompts. Copy that, come back over, paste these instructions. These instructions are pretty simple. So I'm using ChatGPT, and what I'm actually doing in these Airtable builds is setting up my own assistants. The same way you can set up assistants in ChatGPT Playground, I'm just setting them up customizable, fully customizable, and tweakable in Airtable. So this would be for the system instructions. You can take on the role of the system, the user, and the assistant. So I'm setting system instructions here. Basically saying, sound like a human. But we're going to change that out because we're not actually writing stories. So I want to keep the system instructions. Maybe I want to add custom text at some point, but we don't need it for the story or voiceovers. Lean Green Health. Yeah, good job making it through those long videos. They are confusing. Great job. So anyone coming in, this is my first time streaming, and basically I'm just going about my workday. This is how I work on this stuff, just rambling to myself, figuring out what works, and I figured I might as well record it and have you guys watch me fumble. If anything, it empowers you while you're fumbling around. So we need a couple things in here for system. I'm going to switch out the research bot, fact checker bot. I'm not going to use these. Again, we're not creating stories, but I really want to tweak this JSON. So what I'm trying to wrap my mind around is how I'm going to actually generate scenes here. We need to rip this apart and generate the scenes specifically. So we need specific prompts to come through. And the video style I have in mind, the content style I have in mind are these niche videos. So like shocking creatures or shots from history or weird things in science or whatever, and it's just scene after scene is just a similar shot, AI image generating into an AI video, and sort of the same clipped video stitched together in a longer video with some background music. So that's what we need to go for. So I can start imagining maybe 5 scenes here. How do we generate 5 or 6 scenes and come up with a prompt that's going to generate something similar? Yeah, you need 2 screens to put my automations together for sure. I have 3 screens, and this screen I'm working on right now is actually a TV. I need so much space to see what I'm actually doing. But again, good job working through that stuff. So I am not doing a good job working through this, struggling. So we need to rename. This will be generate scenes. We don't need to split off here. We can delete this one. Probably don't need to sleep. And we'll get a record from Airtable. I doubt I've set up all my Airtable modules to be connected. to this other base. So we're no longer writing voiceover here. We're just create image prompts. This will create each scene and create the image prompts for the image generation for each scene that then gets sent to Flux, sent to Fal in Flux, Flux in Fal, sent to Flux, yeah. And then the images will get generated, input into a unique scene, and then those scenes can be worked on for the videos. What else can we rip apart here? This will probably work fine as it is. This is the Fal call for Flux. Generate scenes, generate images, generate video, combine clips, add music, and finish. This router started building these reroutes in here for testing. Definitely useful to have something like this instead of accidentally running data down your chains and triggering all your credits to be spent. I've done that so many times. So now if I want to make sure I'm not spending credits, I just break the link, set it to a reroute, and then run data down single links, single chains. Seems I solved the music part. So adding music, so far I don't have a backend to Suno. I can't use the API with Suno, and that's what I was using for music generation. So getting into your Suno account, generating music, dropping it into the assembly table here. This chain actually just grabs that music dropped in there and adds it to the final video. So piecing the videos together kind of has to go one step at a time. We can't add a bunch of stuff to the video all at once. We have to add one thing, produce the video, add the next thing, produce the video. That's just how stitching elements into videos works with one of these stitching tools like JSON to Video. JSON to Video does a lot more. I don't know what else it does, but it's getting bigger and bigger. I still just use it for stitching. Yeah, so I'm brainstorming. I'm wrapping my mind around how I want to create this. All I need is scenes, and I need a number of scenes, and it can be set, it can be hard-coded, how many scenes, or it can be dynamic. Not sure. So let's look at my JSON maker prompt. This needs to be completely rewritten. So I'm just going to grab this, pop over here, say, paste it. Want to rework this prompt. First, we'll give it a run through. ChatGPT will break stuff apart, and then we can put it back together. So what do we got in this prompt? task, create AI generation prompts based on the story. So we'll say for the task, there is no story. Create AI image generation prompts. Say something like that. I want to create new AI image prompts based on an input prompt. Prompt engineering, building out prompts. It's way easier when you just ask ChatGPT what to do. All right, begin each prompt with the preset text. No. Going to be adding in preset text dynamically. Sure, the prompt says something like, read the preset text in quotes above, ... something like that. Create an AI image generation prompts based on the input prompt provided. Read the preset text in quotes. Use it exactly as the starting point for each AI image generation prompt. Enrich the description with character details. Describe physical features, clothing, expressions. Looks pretty good. Actions and emotions. Rich details. If you guys can hear that noise in the background, there's construction going on. Sorry about that. Each image prompt with a call to action. I don't want that. Remove. Remove the call to action and the voiceover bit. Read the preset text and quotes above. Character details. Looks pretty good. Output the results as a JSON object with an array called prompts. Don't really need that array with one item in it. There is only one item. Asking ChatGPT, do we need the array? Instead of saying, write it this way without the array, you just ask it, do we really need that? And ChatGPT will say, this is fine without it. Let's write it this other way. Sometimes the more input you give to your prompt, the more input you give ChatGPT, say, hey, I want this to happen, it's going to do that. And that might not be the best way. These things are getting so much better at reasoning. All right, so we got one JSON object called AI image prompts. That's fine. Replace text dynamically. Yeah, thank you. So let's write this prompt out now. I want to change the beginning of it. So generate a single AI image generation prompt. The task should say ... in all right. That looks great. Now, one last engineering thing here. We can say, is this the best way to write this prompt? Thank you. My prompt is very well structured. I worked so hard. Great. ChatGPT will write a new prompt, and then I'll say, please write so I can copy. Copy that. Let's come back into Airtable. So I got some version control here. I think I'll just paste this one down here for now. Move these around. Now we've got our new JSON maker prompt. I'm going to rename this JSON maker JSON bot. Great, so we're not going to need these two bots. We're not creating the story. I'll just delete those out. And we can give it a little test. So the output of this prompt, we're going to have a new video project. Just call it JSON test. Create a video in portrait. We've got the JSON bot connected here. So there is the new prompt all connected up to our new video project. Again, this is just ripping apart my other automation and building this stuff in here, redoing it all to work out for this new content creation content type. Cool. Image styles. This should work just the same. We could add in some image styles. It's my photograph preset to do realistic images. Probably don't need anything more than that for now. Let's add in that photograph style. Now, just in case we're not using it, but I want to build in the system instructions. Don't need a writer. What I could do is build in some different prompt assistants. Instead of these story writers, these assistants can be prompt assistants. So that way, when you want to create your images, you want to create your scenes, you won't necessarily have to write in a full prompt. You can just say monsters, and then you'll have a prompt writer come up with your actual AI image prompts instead of having to write them out. So that could be something to build in here. Prompt writers. Can delete all these. And we'll just say make this shocking history prompt writer. You'll have to come up with a new prompt. Looks like the prohibited language list isn't connected up here either. So those are two things I'm going to do. Connect up the system's prompts and the prohibited language list. So let's do that first. Prohibited language list. We'll create a new field. Link to another record. Prohibited language list. Allow linking to multiple records. Probably don't need that on. That's all right. Oh, we're linking the wrong thing. That's why. This is behind the scenes on my videos, guys. How much editing I need to do just to cut out my pauses. We need system automation. Toggle off system linking to multiple records in the system automation. We'll grab the, that's probably it we just need. So drop down the system here, find the system, link all the records to the system. There we go. Now we can add in those automations to get that done. New project entry. This will be a new automation. Anybody who's coming in to the stream, this is my first live stream on YouTube, building out this stuff. I'm basically going about my regular work day, building out this stuff. Figured I'd record it and let you guys watch. So I'm ripping apart the AI Faceless story generator and creating a new automation that's going to create a different style of content. Not story-based, but it's going to create AI videos using Kling, Minimax. You'll be able to choose which model you want to use through the Flux API or the FAL API. And we're going to be using Flux to generate images. So this entire thing is just me brainstorming how to get this done in the best way. I'm trying to build out new stuff, not necessarily use what I have here, take from it, but not do it in the same way. I like to innovate. Anytime I build a new automation, I usually start from the ground up just so I have the chance to innovate. But this particular automation is so huge, figured I could steal from myself. So this one is going to be a new entry to prohibited language. Unfortunately, there's construction going on outside. I hope you guys can't hear that. New entry. When a record is created in the prohibited language list, we're going to find a record. We're going to get the system from the system automation table based on a condition where the condition is record ID is. This one right there. Copy that. There it is. Let's add an action here. We're going to update a record in the prohibited language list of the same record ID. What we're going to update is the system automation field. We're going to find any record where the record ID is our record ID. Flip it on. Let's go test that out. Prohibited language list now should have automatic linking to the system. We'll add a new prohibited language and we should get that automation. There it is, working great. It's actually delete that record. In the system automation, we need to add a lookup field. I'm going to create a link to the prohibited language list. Yes, allow linking to multiple records. We'll link the phrase. Do I have that in here? No. Prohibited language list. Guess I have that in here somewhere. This is why I create the all data views. Instead of toggling on and off your hidden views, I just create a view with all data. Then all the hidden fields I can see at a glance in that all data field. So should have checked that to begin with. I already have a prohibited language link. So I'm going to delete both of these. Come into prohibited language, delete my duplicate. Should have known I had that link because I linked it there. Great, so we got the prohibited language linked to the system. Let's add a lookup field for the phrase. We need to actually run the phrases list through dynamically in make. Cool. Now we can add this to the video project. Let's create a link to another record, system automation. Call this system. Create the field. We want the system instructions and the phrase from prohibited language list. Can also add the label. Now we've got our system instructions saying don't use these words, and here's the words. Now we don't really need that. That was primarily more useful for the story generator and writing the voiceovers, but in case we want any kind of text, or in case we want the image generation to omit certain things, do not generate this. We can add that into these system instructions here. Generate blank, but never generate blank. Cool. So now we need to add the automation that will bring the system instructions into a new record automatically. So we'll jump in there. We got a new project entry automation already. So let's duplicate this action for the JSON maker. This will be get system. JSON maker is now named JSON bot. And we'll get our system record ID. Update the record. We're going to update our new field, the system field. And in the system field, we're going to find the system. There it is. Test that out. I'll create a new record. Let's see if that system gets put in. I know it will. Where's our system? There it is. So we should automatically get JSON bot and system. There we go. Ready to do some work in our new record. So that is great. Delete out these records, keep our test record in here. Now we can choose our writer, which is now a choose prompt writer. Prompt writer instructions. Oops. I see you guys coming into the group. You can follow those instructions in the school to get into the live stream video right in here. In the classroom, join the Telegram group. You can jump in there. See how we can add this in here now. So we need to create the prompts. My brain is just not working on how to best accomplish this. We have this ChatGPT module running the JSON bot. So this module is running the JSON bot, taking our prompt presets and our stories. So this stories is now going to be our input prompt. So that's what we need, input prompt. So input image prompt here, that's what it's going to be. So we could say something like monsters or giants or something like that, and then have our prompt writer actually write about that specific thing. So this prompt writer, we can set up a new prompt for shocking history. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's go into ChatGPT. I'm going to copy this prompt, come into ChatGPT, paste my prompt, and say this is a prompt for a story writer. Prompt, we're going to change it into a new prompt that a subject or theme and output, let's say a new text prompt based on the themes this will be copy and pasted into an image generator. Let's see what we get. Got a new prompt for an image generation prompts based on a subject or theme. So it's taken our information before. We don't necessarily want the JSON maker instructions here. In fact, the easier way to do this is to create a new chat. Jump into a new chat. We'll copy this, paste it. Let's copy this first. And we'll paste in that prompt. So input, provide a subject or theme. Awesome. Generate a detailed, vivid, visually descriptive prompt from an image generator based on the given subject or theme. Set the atmosphere, focus on key detail. So it's still taking from our previous input, but that's all right. So set the scene, compelling single sentence introduction. We don't need that. But I think that's fine. So here's some examples. I would input abandoned city and then output this right here. Let's see, does that really work? Does that work in my brain space? Let's see. Sure. Sure, let's say now is this the best way to write this prompt? So those of you watching, well done on being here. This is not the most exciting stuff, to be sure. This stream, I basically am just going about my workday. Decided I'd record it since I'm doing this anyway. That's what this stream is going to be all about. Me mumbling and stumbling and figuring stuff out. Hey, that is a great rhyme. I should have written that down. So wasn't even paying attention to what ChatGPT said, because what I really need is please write this out so I can copy. So this is our new, ooh, nice, we're using the canvas here. So this is our new prompt. This should create image prompts based on a theme or a phrase. Now, theoretically, it should be able to take in prompts and create prompts based on prompts. Cool, let's take this prompt. It's not necessarily shocking history. This is our generic theme prompt. We can build off of that. See what happens. See what we get in the output from this generic theme prompt. So what we can do now is add that generic theme prompter to our workflow here. We can add in a quick prompt. There's so many videos we can reference and try and recreate here. Let's just say giant figures in history is probably going to output some really random monster giants. Since we're using our generic theme, it's going to say giants and probably make monsters, but we'll see what happens. All right, for auto settings, we have these toggled, configured pretty well, but just set it to manual and see what happens. So we're trying to run down this first chain. We need to reconnect everything here. So firstly, probably need to create a new webhook. I don't know if I did that already. AI automated faceless AI video. What? AI video master. Yeah, that can probably. Let's make a new one. New webhook, let's name it. I always like to name my webhooks the name of the automation just because it makes it easier to know what is triggering what. And with these bigger automations, these names get longer and longer. Generator. Great, let's pop this in here. So this is our first action, generate story. We're not actually generating story. Generate prompts. Throw that webhook in there and let's see what our conditions are. Choose writer. Let's just turn everything off and say checked for testing. Oh, that would be the Y. I'm in the wrong project here. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed what happened there, but that happens very often. I got too many projects open, start making changes. Great. Cool, so we need to run some data down, reconnect this one. For this Airtable, get a record. We can run this module only. Let's run a record that has the new info in it. There we go. Paste that in, run that module only. Should get an error. Actually, shouldn't get an error. Oh, we're not connected. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to reconnect up all these Airtable modules. That is just as well. But I think this is a good spot to call it for the day. I had 3 hours planned and I intended to broadcast somewhere in these 3 hours, but an hour and a half on this stream is pretty good. Thank you to those who watched. Thank you to those that will watch the recording of this. Pretty awesome having you guys follow along with this stuff. Again, this is just me going about my workday. This is just me figuring stuff out. I think it's beneficial for especially those of you that have a harder time learning this stuff, there's so much to get involved with, and it can be very discouraging. So seeing me stumble and struggle might just be that nudge to say, you know what, I am going to work through some of this stuff, because once you do, having that empowerment to be able to just make things and make things work and build things, and in my case, teach people how to make things, is highly rewarding and incredibly profitable. So I recommend getting into this stuff. Thank you again for watching the stream. I'll see you guys in the school group. If you'd like to join the school community, you can join up down below. I should have some of those links. You can check out the school community from there. And I will see you in the group. And I'll see you in my next YouTube video. You guys take care. I'll see you later.